National Siblings Day, so if you have a sibling, make sure you reach out to your sibling and tell them you appreciate them. So today we're going to be hearing from Jane and Lauren, and Jane was raised in Madras. She lived most of her life here in Central Oregon, which I did not know, so that was interesting, researching you like a stalker. I'm getting really good at this stalking. Her first-hand knowledge came with hospice when her family was affected by it, and in 2014 she joined hospice as a transition coordinator, and then in 2022 she became the operations manager, and same year was also promoted to executive director for hospice. And she says that a lot of her 21 years in banking and finance helped her to be able to have the tools she needed to be successful in this position, which is a lot of moving pieces. Hospice has lots of programs such as Camp Sunrise, as we know, Festival Trees, one of my favorite, Teddy Bear Tea, Veteran Support, and many more. So we're excited to hear from Lauren and Jane about more going on with hospice. And they are both ducks, in case anybody's wondering.
Uh-oh. I'm fine with that.
I know part of them always.
Sure. Hi everybody, thank you so much for having us. Yeah, my name's Lauren, and I do marketing and outreach for Hospice of Redmond, and I've been with the company since October, and so we're going to focus on Camp Sunrise today, and that is an event that happens in June. So I haven't been to Camp Sunrise, so I need Jane to speak more on kind of the photos and explaining sort of the heartfelt nature of this camp. But I'll be able to talk with you more about just Hospice of Redmond in general, and our programs and what we do. Jane is our fearless leader. I got her bio, and I worked in senior living before this, so a little different, but I referred hospice all the time, and so I worked with seniors in Eugene for almost 8 years, and I would help pair them with resources, including hospice. So I've always really had a heart for hospice. I'm excited to be with Hospice of Redmond. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about just Hospice of Redmond in general, because I think that it's really easy to conflate, like we have all these programs, how are they connected, right? So Hospice of Redmond is a local nonprofit hospice organization. We're a 501c3 located on 23rd and Highland, so right by Redmond High School. And we're actually an administrative building, so we serve our patients in their homes. A lot of people think that we have patients in that building. It is a converted home, but it's an administrative building. We serve all of Central Oregon, so not just Redmond. That's another common misconception. We serve all the way like Madras, Sun River, Sisters, Bend, Prineville, Culver, and the surrounding areas. So again, we go to our patients' homes when they need us. We offer hospice care. That's our bread and butter. That's really the main thing that we do. We serve patients who are in the last phases of a life-limiting illness. So they need to have a physician's prognosis of 6 months or less to live to be appropriate for hospice specifically. But we also have a lot of other programs. So we have palliative care. The best way I can describe palliative care is it's kind of like an umbrella term, and hospice falls underneath it. So someone can receive palliative care, which is kind of like a focus on comfort and making sure that the holistic health of the person is being addressed. They can be on palliative care and not necessarily qualify for hospice. But if someone's on hospice, they're inherently receiving palliative care too, if that makes sense. So we offer that. I'm going to talk a little more about transitions and peace of mind on a different slide, but we have bereavement services as well. And every hospice organization offers bereavement services for the grieving friends and family of the person who passed away. But we actually offer bereavement and grief services to the whole community for free, regardless of who they're grieving. So it could be that you have a neighbor who is, grieving the loss of their wife from 20 years ago. They can call us and we have resources for them, and it's free. So they can come every second and fourth Tuesday from 11:30 to 1 to our office, and we have group sessions, and they can call and speak with our bereavement coordinators. So it's nice to get the word out. A lot of people just don't know.
One of the things that happens too in our community, unfortunately, are some of these tragedies that we hear about. And a lot of times there isn't support for those, whether we're talking about someone that has taken their life or whether it's a car accident or however, that grief that is associated with that doesn't have a program like this that's running alongside it like hospice does. And so that's why we want to make sure that we let people know that our community we have a bereavement program that will support our community. They don't have to be a hospice patient. So.
And then another thing I want to mention too is we're really proud to be considered a level 4 We Honor Veterans partner. So we have a lot of veteran-centered services within our hospice organization. We have a veterans wall on our property with flags. You might have seen it. It's right between us and the high school. And we play taps out there. And then we also do pinning ceremonies for our patients. So if we have a patient who is a veteran, we can arrange to have another in-uniform vet arrive in their home and present them with a plaque, a veteran's quilt, and then they pin their lapel and just very formally thank them for their service, and it can be very moving. And so sometimes they'll invite their whole family to these ceremonies, and it's just one way that we try to honor our vets. And then Pet Peace of Mind I'll talk a little bit more about, and then of course Camp Sunrise. So again, these are all programs under the umbrella of hospice. So just as a kind of overview, we make a difference in the lives of our patients and their families by assisting them with their unique physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. So our clinical staff uses symptom management and pain control to ease patients' suffering. And we have an interdisciplinary team, so it's a team approach, very holistic, and that team includes a physician, and we can work with the patient's physician as well. And then we have nurses, hospice aid, we have bereavement support, spiritual support, and so on. So it's everyone working together for that patient in their own area of expertise. Our mission is to provide the highest level of compassionate care and bereavement services in Central Oregon. We provide end-of-life care and serve the needs of seriously ill individuals with a life-limiting illness. So that is what we do. And one thing I'll also share is, not every hospice company is the same. There are many out there, and we're really proud to do the work that we do. A lot of people think there's the Bend Hospice, the Redmond Hospice, and so forth, and it just doesn't work that way. We serve all of Central Oregon, and with your referrals and support, we're able to help more people. So. Something else I like to share. So hospice by nature is covered by Medicare and insurance. And so us being a nonprofit, any referrals that we get above and beyond our census minimum, we're able to pour those resources back into these programs. And so not every hospice company is nonprofit, more and more are for-profit. And so again, we're proud to do the work that we do. Some more programs. So I'll extrapolate a little bit on transitions. Having worked in senior living, I think transitions is amazing, and Jane is a transitions coordinator. But basically, it's like case management for someone with a life-limiting illness. So sometimes somebody who has a life-limiting illness, maybe they don't have kids that can help or know what to do, or maybe the kids aren't local and they don't know about resources. So we have a transitions coordinator named Paul who will pair them with resources, connect them with, say they need a motorized scooter, or they need assistance touring a senior living facility, or they need to better understand how to apply for their Medicare benefits or their Medicaid benefits. It's free, and it's just amazing how many people would qualify if they knew about it. So I know that in Eugene, I wish I knew about that program. We didn't really have one in Eugene, and all of my residents really would have qualified, so pretty cool.
And one of the other things that Paul does too is he'll go in and he does regular visits with his clients. And so if you do, like we have a client that lives in Prineville and her daughter lives on the East Coast. And so once he makes that visit, then he calls and says, here's how she's doing, I just saw her, things are going well. And so that kind of support to family members makes a big difference to them too.
It also means that we're able to have eyes on the client so that when we think it's appropriate for them to consider transitioning into hospice, we can make that really smooth transition for them. They already know us, we already know them, and it's usually an easier experience for everyone. Pet Peace of Mind is actually a national program that we participate in. So Pet Peace of Mind is a program where our patients, if they have dogs or cats that they can't care for, we have volunteers who not only care for their animal, but we assist them in rehoming their animal following their death. So they'll pass away knowing their animal already has a great home to go to, but they don't have to part with their pet, who is probably bringing them a lot of comfort in the last days of their life. So that is a program. It's pretty amazing how many volunteers we have, and yeah, it's pretty special that we can offer that. And then Camp Sunrise. So we'll talk a lot about that, but Camp Sunrise is now considered one of the nation's finest and longest running children's grief camps. And we put it on every year in June for children ages 7 to 14. And this year we're actually offering a more expanded program. So that is Camp Sunrise. This year, June 14th through 16th is Camp Sunrise. So it's always Father's Day weekend in June. And yeah. Overall, as a recap, Camp Sunrise is founded on the understanding that every child deserves an opportunity to grieve and process loss in community, and with healthy examples being set for them. A lot of times kiddos who suffer loss are living with someone else who is grieving, and it's just a heavy thing to bring it up. They can sense this subject may feel off topic because it's grieving their parent. And so kids sometimes will stifle their grief or not ask questions that are natural questions to ask. Or they feel really alone and they feel like they don't know any other children that are also experiencing loss. This kind of solves a lot of those challenges. So it's typically offered for children ages 7 to 14 in Central Oregon, all over Central Oregon. It's at Subtle Lake. But this year, for the first time, we're going to have a teen program. It'll be a day program for teens ages 13 to 17. So a separate curriculum for the little ones, and then a teen program that's kind of more like art therapy. So, do you want to be my? Yes,
So I get the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've had the pleasure of being at Camp Sunrise. I think in my 10 years at Hospice of Redmond, I've been there 9 years. 1 year I unfortunately had COVID and wasn't able to attend. I plan on being at Camp Sunrise as long as my 2 feet will carry me. It's just an incredible program. What happens, like Lauren mentioned, is that these kids oftentimes are, if you can believe it, they're bullied at school because they've lost a loved one, and it could be anyone. We've had children that come to camp that have actually found siblings who have passed. They've lost grandparents. Some of them have lost multiple people. It's just, you cannot believe what these children have gone through. And so to be able to welcome them to a camp where they know that they're not alone is a huge deal. And so what we do, this is some pictures of them arriving at camp. And so you can see over here on these chairs, they're getting quilts. Those quilts are donated to us. And so each kid gets a quilt. They also get these bears the first night at campfire, which most of them will pack the entire weekend long, regardless of age. A lot of them will stuff them in their shirts, and it's just a big comfort for them to have that bear that goes along with them. When they first arrive, it's a scary thing. I mean, if I took you and said, hey, Josh, guess what? We're going to go to camp this weekend. We're going to talk about your grief. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a fun thing, and for kids it's scary too. And so that's why we bring in the therapy dogs. And so here's one of them here. This is Poet, but we normally have probably 3 or 4 therapy dogs that will meet the kids right there and then walk with the children to their cabins. And I have witnessed the change that happens when they get down and start loving on the pets, and the pets start loving on them. They're immediately, loosening up and starting to feel like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be so scary. So, here's some of our pets here. And that's, like I said, Poet. And then, I'm sorry I don't remember this one, and then that's Kobe. This is our nurse. We have a camp nurse. This is JR. And JR is sitting here working with one of the kids there. But when the kids come to camp, it's amazing. We have a lot of activity that goes on. I mentioned the fireside. So the fireside happens the first night, and we kind of get together and we talk about stories and we talk about what's going to be happening while they're there. By the next morning, I can tell you that because of the program is so intentional, the next morning the kids are already connecting with each other. So it's really cool. And then we start the art pieces. So you can see here is when they arrive, they're making flags. They do a personalized flag, and each one of these ribbons that they tie on the flags represents a loved one, each color. And then those get strung outside their cabin with their cabin mates. One of the other things that they do is create these power sticks, and we talk about the importance and the power of love at camp. And so they're able to decorate these power sticks, paint them. They pick out colors that were important to them and their loved one that's passed. They pick out trinkets that were important to them or that they think represent them. We have stickers, and so they'll pick out like fishing rods and barbecues for their dad, and all of these different things that they can put on these power sticks, and they're so intentional about it. And so you'll see on the next, I think it's the next slide here. I'm going to skip. Okay, so you'll see this slide where we have all of the different trinkets and things set out for them, and they can go through and pick this, and these kids are just, they're so focused. They really want to create something that means a lot to them and that they can represent. And so here's, you can see some more creativity that they did with the colors and whatnot. The next thing that we do that day is the kids, while part of the kids are creating this, they have a circle time downstairs where those kids are actually doing some real more deep work with our social workers that are there at camp and able to talk to them and able to process together some of their grief verbally. And then we switch again, and the kids come upstairs and we do another project, which I'll show you a little bit later, but they make memory boats. And so we have pieces of bark and then flowers of all different kinds of seeds. They'll write notes on biodegradable paper that they will put on the boat itself, and that's also a memorial of their loved one. And then this evening, we've got a couple of our great volunteers here, Renfro and Spurge. And then in the evening, the kids are able to present these power sticks to each other at a candlelight ceremony. So there's soft music, the kids are all sitting there, and they all walk up one at a time and say the person's name and say, this is my power stick, it represents love, this is what this person meant to me. And so it's almost like a memorial service to them. It's so beautiful, and I'm telling you, I can't get through one of them without sobbing, but it's just incredible. Let's skip to the next one. This is Spurge's masterpiece. He does this at every meal, so all the kids are running up to see what kind of creation he's made out of his food. You can see we have playtime and fireside and different songs and acting goofy, and it's just incredible. After what I talked to you about with them presenting their power sticks and like not a dry eye in the room. The kids get up when they're done with their tears. They have processed, and they get up and they run out, and the next thing they want is a s'more at the campfire. And they're dancing, and we have little necklaces that are neon, and it's just such an incredible time and an incredible program for these kids. By the time they leave, they're out in this meadow signing shirts. So,
and the program's 100% free for the children who attend. Because of what we do with hospice.
Yeah, it is. And so we reach out to counselors at the schools, community members. You'll see information on Facebook right now about this, where we try and get people to sign up for camp and bring their kids. Another one of the power sticks that kind of gets you, right? So this is where the memory boats that I was telling you about, the creations that they do, and then they go down to the river on Sunday, and they launch those and let them go into the water, and they watch them as they go off into the river. So it's really a beautiful, beautiful program. After that, then we have a big barbecue, and families come, and where the families get to go through and watch a slideshow of the pictures, and the kids are just bouncing off the walls. So it's really a neat thing that they're able to do this, and we couldn't do it without the wonderful volunteers that come alongside us. So if you are someone that you know has a passion for children and has had a grief experience of your own, that makes you prepared to do something like this. And you're certainly welcome to come and join us. We do a significant amount of training beforehand, but it's just such a beautiful experience.
And so for the kids program, again, it's a 3-day, 2-night camp. It's an emotionally safe, supportive environment. We do training for our volunteers. We have different roles for different volunteers. A lot of art, music, movement therapies, and then 2 counselors per 2 to 4 campers. So that's pretty good, the ratio, because we want to make sure they feel really supported. And then we do follow-up services as well, just to make sure the families are doing okay too. So Jane,
Here's more pictures of the boat launch that you can see. It's one. It's one.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
right.
so these are some key players in Camp Sunrise, and it talks about how we recruit volunteers, and there's tons of information on our website. So that's where you can go. And we appreciate the support.
Yeah.
Sorry to rush at the end.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't leave much room for questions. I know some of you need to go. So.
Does anyone have any questions before we?
So how many children are likely to be in the camps this year?
It depends. We're kind of excited about our teen program for the day use, so I'm not really sure about that yet, but normally, I would say normal circumstances, it's between 25 and 30. We can take up to 40.
And we need lots of volunteers to have 40, but we're excited.
Men and women.
So it used to be at Dark Lake where the schools have their outreach program. Where's the Methodist camp?
When you drive into Subtle Lake, when you make that very first turn, it's the first camp on your left.
Okay.
Yeah, and the camp doesn't have any kind of spiritual affiliation associated with it. That's the camp that we rent. So it's open to all faiths. Or no faiths.
Thank you guys for the important work you guys do. And I was given one pen, so I'm going to give it to Lauren because I know I can get put to you.
Yeah, just give it to Lauren.
Lauren, this is from a local artisan, Brian Watts, and he creates these pens for us, so thank you. Yeah. Okay, one more picture.
And in front of the awesome slide deck too. Yeah.
Great program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Joanne, we're invited, John and I, to work at the Festival of Trees Hospice last year, one of their largest fundraisers, and we had a blast. It was such a great experience, and so if you, I know it's a ways out, but please consider it for next year.
Yeah, we didn't get to that on the slides either, so.
We need to have you back for more the other half.
Yeah, we're talkers. There's also some flyers here. If you'd like one, I'll just set them right here on your way out. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Well, and in honor of Lauren and Jane and the important work they do, hospice care is about more than helping people die well. It's about helping them live out life with love. Thank you.
And thanks for the big type. I could read it.